So I asked Peter how far did he go to propose his girlfriend Jessica. He said, I bought an expensive diamond ring. I took her near the Eiffel Tower. I went down on my knees and I proposed marriage to her. And I asked him, so what did she say? What was her reply? And he said, she said, yes. Well, my next question is, or rather was, how long had you been waiting for this day? And he said, I had been waiting for this day for almost a year and a half. Well, friends, this is what we are going to look at in today's lesson, the difference between how far and how long. First, let's see how we use how far. We use how far when you want to ask about a particular distance or when you want to talk about distance. Okay, so if I ask you, how far is your office? You are going to tell me your office is about, say, 7 kilometers from your home. So when I say how far, I'll always get the measurement of distance. So maybe 5 kilometers, a mile, okay? You will always get such answers. So remember, when you say or when you ask how far is something, that means you are asking the measurement of distance in terms of kilometers, in miles and whatever, okay? So the answer is my office is about 7 kilometers away from my home. The next example is, how far is the cinema? Okay, so say we are going to the cinema by car and I want to know the distance from office to the cinema. So I say, how far? Okay, and then you say, oh, it's not that far, it's just about 2 kilometers. All right, so again, I'm asking about the distance, okay? When you use how far, you always talk about distance. It will always give you the reply in distance. The next question, how far will you drive to reach the station? Now I know the station is really far. I don't know the exact distance. So I ask a friend of mine, why are you taking the car? Just take the bus, it's really far. And he says, no, I'm going to take the car, I'm going to drive. And my next question is, how far will you drive? Okay, I want to know the distance. I know it's far, but I want to know the exact distance. How far will you drive to reach the station? And he says it's about 45 kilometers. Okay, so I'm going to get the reply in terms of distance, its measurement. Yes? So far we've looked at the 3 questions which talks about distance. Now let's see how far is used a little differently. So if I ask, how far would you go to convince Mary to marry you? That means not the distance. You won't say, I'll go 10 kilometers to convince. It means to what extent? Okay, I want to know the extent of your efforts that you're going to take to convince Mary to marry you, right? So in the beginning of the lesson, that's what I told you. I asked Peter, how far did you go to convince your girlfriend to marry you? I wanted to know the extent of the efforts that he put to get her to marry him. So in such a situation, when someone says how far, they are certainly not talking about the distance. They actually want to know the extent that you would go to do something, okay? So, if I ask one of my students, how far are you going to go to get a first class or maybe top your English exams? How far are you going to go? Or how far? What would you do? What I want to ask is, what do you do? What kind of efforts? To what extent are you going to go to get or rather to top his English exams? And he tells me, I'm going to work day in and day out. I'm going to read all my English lessons. I'm going to know my vocabulary and my sentence construction. So he's going to tell me about all the efforts that he is going to put in to ace his English examination. So certainly he is not going to talk about the distance, because I want to know the extent or the efforts that he is ready to put in to ace his English examination. So remember, we have two meanings to how far. One is when you talk about distance, one place from the other in terms of kilometers or miles. And the second one is when you ask how far would you go to get something, or how far would you go to get the new job. It actually means what is the extent or what is the kind of effort that you are going to put in. Okay, friends? So this is how we use how far. Remember, it will only tell you distance or the extent or the effort of doing something. Now let's take a look at how long. Okay, if I ask someone, I'm late for a meeting, and I say, I'm really sorry, how long have you been waiting? Now, the minute you say how long, it doesn't mean the length, okay? It means that amount of time taken for something. Okay, so how long have you been waiting for me? And they'll say, oh, we've been waiting about 45 minutes. 45 minutes? I'm sorry, I'm late. So how long have you been waiting? We'll talk about time, okay, the duration, the amount of time that you've been waiting for. So I cannot say how far have you been waiting? I've been waiting like 5 kilometers? No, that's not the right way to ask. So when you want to know the amount of time spent or the amount of time something takes, please ask how long, right? The next one, how long is the movie? Okay, so let's take a quick comparison. How far is the cinema? The cinema is about 2 kilometers by car, okay, the distance. And I say, okay, so how long is the movie? Oh, the movie is about 2 hours. Again, it will tell you about the time. The movie is about 2 hours. How long will tell you the amount of time. So the amount of time here that you're going to spend in the cinema watching a movie is 2 hours. But the distance you're going to travel is 2 kilometers. All right, friends? So that's a very clear difference between how far and how long. The next example, how long will it take to reach the station? So I asked my friend, how far will you drive to reach the station? 45 kilometers. Okay, so how long will it take? Maybe about an hour and a half if there is no traffic, or maybe if there is traffic, sorry. If there is traffic, an hour and a half. Otherwise, maybe an hour. So again, when I ask how long, he will tell me the time that it takes to reach the station. All right. So how far is the distance in kilometers? How long? That means how much time. Okay. So, well, you have 1 hour or 1.5 hours if there is traffic. Okay. Fine. And the last example says, how long are you going to wait for her answer? So if you see the question here, how far would you go to convince Mary to marry you? Yes, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to have a candlelight dinner. I'm going to buy her a nice expensive diamond ring. And I'm going to dress my best and look my best. Okay, so that is the extent and that is the kind of effort you're going to put. That's how far you're going to go, right? But what if she's not sure about her answer? How long are you going to wait for an answer? That means the amount of time that you're ready to wait for. So you'll say, if she's not sure, maybe I'll give her a week's time, okay? So again, the amount of time that you're ready to give is 1 week. So you cannot say how far are you going to wait for her answer. That's not the correct way, all right? So don't try interchanging these two questions because you cannot use them interchangeably. So you say, how long are you going to wait for her answer? Well, maybe a week. Okay, friends? So that is how you use how far and how long. Remember, how far is for distance and the extent someone is ready to do something or the amount of effort he is ready to put. How long always deals with the amount of time it takes, a year, a few minutes, months, weeks, or a decade. Okay? Well, I have a small test for you. Please do take the test and let me know your scores. I'll be back soon with a new lesson. Till then, continue learning, continue practicing. Bye.